Hello and welcome. I'm Saeed from StoryPlanet.net. Dive right into the essence of the most captivating books without reading them cover to cover. Whether you're on the go, at the gym, or just relaxing at home, we offer you a unique and enriching listening experience. Today, we are exploring the book Ghetto, a creation by Mitchell Duneier. Ghetto, 2016, explores the evolution of the term ghetto, focusing on its use in describing African American communities in the US. The documentary delves into the intricate relationship between race, bias, regulations, and sociology. Striving for racial justice poses challenges that are far from straightforward. Before we delve into these revelations, it's interesting to note that Mitchell Duneier is the Maurice P. Professor of Sociology at Princeton University. He is also the author of the acclaimed urban ethnographies, Sidewalk and Slimmer's Table. With 7 key ideas to unveil, brace yourself for a deep dive into this captivating book. On StoryPlanet.net. To start, learn about the origin, history, and reasoning behind the establishment of ghettos. The text discusses the evolving meaning of the term ghetto, particularly focusing on its association with impoverished black neighborhoods in America. It highlights the historical origins of ghettos dating back to the 16th century and mentions the impact of a Swedish individual on racial issues in America. Additionally, it touches on the silencing of perspectives from black academics regarding ghettos. Key idea number 1. Italian Jews were the first group to be ghettoized. The term ghetto has origins in Venice in the 16th century, where Jews were forced to live in confined areas. This led to the perception of Jews living in poorer conditions, which was attributed to their religion. The policy of forced separation perpetuated a cycle of justification for ghettoization. Napoleon tried to end these policies in the 19th century, but official ghettos persisted until the late 1800s. This historical context contributed to the ingrained belief that ghettoization was justified based on perceived differences in living conditions. Key idea number 2. Post-World War II, the term ghetto was applied to African American communities. In the early 20th century, the meaning of ghetto changed to refer to voluntary Jewish neighborhoods in crowded urban areas like New York and Vienna. These neighborhoods were self-segregated and impoverished, not enforced by governments. Nazis later used the term for enclosures where Jews were mistreated during World War II. Post-war, African Americans started calling their urban areas ghettos, as described in a book by Caton and Drake, highlighting racism in Chicago and comparing it to the discrimination faced by Jews, aiming to demonstrate the prevalence of racism in the American North. Key idea number 3. Structural racism against black people was closely linked with housing discrimination. The study by Caton and Drake highlights how white people used restrictive covenants to enforce racial discrimination and prevent black residents from living in white neighborhoods, maintaining a fixed quota for non-white residency. These discriminatory practices persisted for decades in Chicago, supported by real estate organizations and violent acts against black individuals moving into white areas. The systemic racism led to overcrowded and undervalued neighborhoods, reinforcing discriminatory attitudes and practices. The cycle of discrimination was difficult to break due to ingrained structural racism. Key idea number 4. Gunnar Myrdal wrote a standard text on American race relations that is considered fluid. Gunnar Myrdal, a Swedish economist and sociologist, wrote An American Dilemma, The Negro Problem and Modern Democracy, a highly influential book in the mid-20th century that addressed racial issues in the United States. His work was used in the Brown versus Board of Education case of 1954. Myrdal focused on Southern racism and believed in highlighting the poor living conditions of black Americans, but his analysis overlooked systemic racism in the North. Caton's research could have complemented Myrdal's work, but their collaboration did not materialize due to disagreements. Key idea number 5. Kenneth Clark believed government policy played a role in perpetuating black ghettos. Psychologist Kenneth Clark's doll experiments in the 1940s revealed that black children often preferred white dolls due to internalized feelings of inferiority. Clarke's 1965 book, Dark Ghetto, argued that America's black ghettos were a result of institutionalized powerlessness and discriminatory policies like redlining. These policies deprived black communities of economic, social, and educational opportunities, contributing to their marginalization. Despite Clarke's insights, his work did not gain support from policymakers at the time. Key idea number 6, Daniel Patrick. Moynihan's assessment of the ghetto was widely accepted during the 1960s. In the 1960s, government policies on black ghettos were influenced by the Moynihan Report, authored by policy advisor Daniel Patrick Moynihan, which focused on the breakdown of the black family structure as a key factor in poverty and dependency, largely ignoring white structural racism. President Lyndon B. Johnson responded by signing the Voting Rights Act and emphasizing the need to strengthen black families to address poverty and inequality. Key idea number 7. Sociological studies are still being misapplied and misinterpreted. William Julius Wilson, an African-American sociologist, presented the idea that economic inequality, not race, was the main social problem in America, even in ghettos. His race-neutral approach faced backlash, especially from black scholars and leaders, as it downplayed structural racism. Wilson's work was distorted by subsequent administrations, leading to policies that promoted personal responsibility over addressing systemic inequality. The impact of poverty and racism on black communities has been largely overlooked in American politics, with blame often placed on the victims instead of addressing the root causes. In conclusion, the book discusses the complicated history and perpetuation of racial inequity in America through the concept of the ghetto, involving politics, race, and poverty. It emphasizes the intersectional complexity of the ghetto's existence and the absence of easy solutions. Further reading on poverty and eviction is recommended with Evicted by Matthew Desmond, which sheds light on the challenges faced by individuals and families struggling in impoverished cities. Thank you for listening to this summary. If you enjoyed this exploration, we invite you to discover other fascinating books on storyplanet.net. Don't wait any longer. A multitude of books, stories, and knowledge await you there. See you soon on storyplanet.net.